This is a public service announcement.
This is a public service announcement.
This is a public service announcement.
About vaginas.
Vaginas?
Vaginas. The word is unpleasant.
It makes me uncomfortable, the word. I don't know if it's dysphoria, but it's always made me uncomfortable.
When I hear the word vagina, I just get turned on.
Obviously, certain kinds of porn go through my mind.
I actually have a good positive connotation with the word vagina because it was learned with the people who were helping me feel sexual in my body.
Do you know what a squick is? It's like a squick. It's like, don't like that word. Even though when I encounter vaginas, I'm like, hell yeah. I like calling them something else, but none of the words that are available to me make me feel any better because they seem really gendered. Like if you say the word pussy, it's very gendered. Vulva is a little bit better.
There must be a better word for it that doesn't have to be inherently feminine.
We always gender body parts. Oh, ovaries are feminine.
But like, they're not. They're just body parts that anyone of any gender could have.
The whole vagina thing sort of begins to reduce a womanhood and femininity to a body part, which some people find objectifying.
Because of the world I find myself in and the culture I find myself in, even as a trans person and a non-binary person, I still think female.
Same with periods.
There's so much of a culture around menstruating that we don't talk about.
If you turn off the socialization component of how we're taught about periods, if you turn that off, what is getting a period actually like? We have this idea in the United States that everyone is supposed to be really crabby, and PMS is this whole thing that changes your moods like crazy and blah, 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 blah. And when you're on your period, you're in pain, and you're grumpy, and you have to keep like 5 boxes of chocolates next to you at all times.
It's messy. It's expensive. It's painful. It was never, dysphoria aside, I don't know anyone who's like, oh, this is wonderful and fabulous and magical, unless they're trying really, really hard to reclaim it. Nope. Unless you're wanting to make a baby and trying to make a baby, then it's pointless.
I view my relationship with my menstrual cycle in a similar way to the relationship I have with my abusive parents, which is there's blood and I don't know why, there's pain and I don't know why, and there is absolutely no rhyme or reason for why or when that happens. And the best thing I can do is to get it as far from me as I possibly can.
Yeah, it was a very, very bad relationship. A lot of the relationship was denial and depression, not wanting to leave the house, but you have to leave the house.
It's very hard to still need menstrual products. It causes me a lot of dysphoria to go buy pads. And then people give me weird looks at the grocery store. They're like, why are you buying this?
I'm like, okay, can't men buy things for other people?
It reminds me of the fact that it can be used against me, and my body can be used against me with the way that uteruses and vaginas are regulated.
Yeah, coming back to vaginas.
Vagina seems like a very politicized term.
The politicization of genitalia and the fact that people assume that genitalia equals gender expression is so hurtful. It's used against people to erase their identities. I feel like vagina is a part of that because only women have it, and if trans women don't have it, then they're not real women.
There are tons of trans men who are totally into their vaginas, and there are a lot of trans men who don't even like to talk about having a vagina.
I clearly enjoy having a vagina. I think I've separated having a vagina from femininity or being a woman, and I've reclaimed it in my own way.
I identify as asexual, so the vagina is something I just have to deal with. Every 3 to 5 years, I have to go do the pap smear. A couple times a year, I have to switch out a topical estrogen ring that's inserted to not dry everything out because I'm on testosterone. It's a medical thing that needs to be dealt with. I guess I do have dysphoria, and it would have been nice, but I'm not going to be spending the money on the surgeries. And really, I kind of like the whole multiple orgasm feature. I don't want to be messing with that.
I'm much more interested in having a penis than in not having a vagina. Growing up, I was aware of having to sit down to pee. I was aware of not having a penis, but in a lot of ways, I wasn't really aware of my vagina.
I don't relate to Georgia O'Keeffe paintings. I don't feel kinship when I see my friend's vagina art at our house. On the flip side, I also don't feel kinship when I see penises. I feel like an expat. I don't really belong to where I come from, but I also don't belong anywhere else, so I don't have the language and the culture that goes along with it. I'm kind of making things up as I go. When I watch porn, I don't identify with the people who have the vaginas, even if they're trans. I identify with the people who have the penises, even though I don't have one.
I call it a vagina because I don't have a different word for it. It changes, it's not the same. Bottom growth is a huge thing, and there's a whole porn industry about trans people's bottoms growth, and I wish there was a different word for it.
Do you know what bottom growth is? Do you want to explain it?
So everyone grows differently, but basically your clit enlarges and your smell changes, your pH balance changes, so I don't really feel like it's a vagina anymore. It's something different.
For me, bottom growth was a euphoric thing, kind of the opposite of gender dysphoria. When I look at my beard, I have gender euphoria. When I touch my chest after top surgery, it's gender euphoria. My body hair, love that. My voice, love that. Wearing men's clothes gives me lots of gender euphoria, although I don't view them as men's clothes, they're just clothes that I wear. Also, wearing crop tops gives me gender euphoria. And lipstick.
Do you have to transition to be trans?
And what does transition even look like?
Is it just the way you live?
Is it medical?
Is it the way you present yourself to the world?
And the answer is, you get to do whatever the fuck you want. Your identity is your own, even if you don't have a label for it.
A lot of it is the presumptiveness of language.
I don't think our language has caught up with this.
When I'm trying to be confrontational, I say transphobic, that using gender reductive language is inherently transphobic. When I say that, it's not because people are necessarily phobic or hateful, it's that there's an automatic erasure of trans issues in the way we use language. To a lot of people, it hasn't occurred to them. It's that privilege of not having had a reason to think about it.
When I was growing up, we had these flip books where the head, middle, and bottom of people could change based on which page you were on. I feel like being cisgender is having all your images match up in the flip book. Being trans is like having different images resonate more, even if other people don't understand them. To me, privilege just means something that you don't have to think about. So for cis women, not thinking about what happens if those images don't match up isn't something that comes up for them a lot.
It shows in the activism that they do.
When people wear pussy hats or whatever, I don't relate with that.
Oh God, don't get me started on the fucking pussy hats. Like, I get the concept, they're trying to be like women power, but not all people who have pussies are women, and not all women have pussies. It's just showing you're being trans exclusionary without realizing it, and you haven't done enough work to know this.
I think cis women need to see trans people as another gender spectrum that is oppressed. This isn't the oppression Olympics, though. Non-cis men also experience gender oppression. It's the same water, different boats. I want cis women to see that we're in these waters of oppression together.
And it's unpleasant.
But we outnumber the cisgender men, so we could go riot and have a good time.
Together.
I think there's a lot of things that cis women are just not going to question because the system is more or less designed with cis people in mind.
That's the definition of privilege to me. You didn't have to think about it.
People have died for that privilege.
Giving up privilege is really hard. It's extra things you have to do, and women already have a ton of shit to deal with. So taking on one more piece sometimes feels like a lot.
The shame and the embarrassment, the feeling that you've screwed it up.
I'm always so excited when I see someone get to the point where they realize, I've done this wrong. They're just bathed in embarrassment. It's like, yes, now you're finally to the side of the problem and you're able to do something.
That's a really exciting moment. So if anything, that's kind of the conversation I try to have as part of whatever kind of social justice work, saying, here are the phases.
This is a thing that doesn't apply to me.
This is a thing we should probably be talking about.
I need to stop talking and start doing something.
Oh wait, I've been part of the problem all along.
Those are awful moments, but they're the transformative moments.
I would like to see us having more conversations about what it looks like to be shamed and humiliated and how that changes what we do.
And then get up, go down the road, and do it again. That kind of humility.
Is that it? Is it humility that allows us to go and not give up?
Maybe it's also cognitive dissonance.
To hold the fact that we are not terrible people because we've done things really wrong and then walk into that grace.
One of the things I like so much about the Vagina Monologues, there's so many things in there that nobody has thought about. And of course, one of the ironies in the piece is that most women haven't even thought about a lot of the stuff, and it's about women. I fucking love the Vagina Monologues, but I'm aware that you can only talk about so much at once. The gap that it is addressing is much bigger than the gaps in its ability to address that thing.
If you're going into a theater show, you're not going to be in there for the rest of your life. And there's only so much you can do in 90 minutes. You're not going to be able to cover all female or all vaginal experiences.
Not all people who have vaginas are women, and not all women have vaginas.
This has been a public service announcement.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming.